racing fans, welcome to another cracking episode of the big Group 1 racing show. This episode is episode 7, and on today's show I'm going to be previewing one big Group 1 race that is coming up this Saturday the 15th of October, and that is the BMW Caulfield Cup. It's mixed with a bit of international flavour as well as some of our own Australian flavour as well. It's going to be a ripping race, so let's get stuck in to the preview. So the BMW Caulfield Cup is ridden over the 2,400 metre distance, of course, running on Saturday the 15th of October, 4:30 PM at Caulfield. You can see the race on racing.com/7 and also Sky Racing 1. Let's have a look at the odds. You can see there Jamaica is the one to beat, coming in at $3.90. Scottish is the next best at $8. We also have Real Love at $8 as well. Articus is at $9. Exotheric is at $13. At $12 we have Sir Isaac Newton. Sir John Hawkford is at $16. Tally is at $18. Sacred Master at $26, as well as our Ivanhoe. Preferment at $34, as well as Tarzino. Set Square at $41. Pembury ran last week at Caulfield, is backed by the punters at $51. A Moonquiff at $67. D Little Engine also at $67. Go Dreaming at $151, and at $301 we have Venga Mask rounding out the Caulfield Cup field for 2016. Let's now get into having a look at the field in depth. Number 1 we have Preferment, a Chris Waller trained horse. Huey Bowman has been aboard this horse 4 of its last 5 starts, is aboard this horse again in the Caulfield Cup. Hasn't won a race since the Group 1 BMW. That was earlier in the year. 4th, not too bad in its last start in the Turnbull Stakes, but was way back behind the first 2 that crossed the finish line in Hartnell and Jamaica. The distance suits, you can't rule Preferment out. Number 2 we have our Ivanhoe, who won from Barrier 6 in the Dubberton Cup earlier in the year. It's coming out of Barrier 6 in the Caulfield Cup. 8th in the Turnbull Stakes. Not in the best form going into this race, I have to admit, but the distance definitely suits. And if you want to categorise these horses in its best form over the last 12 months or so, this horse definitely suits into that category. So the distance will suit this horse. It's definitely one of those ones that you can't rule out. It's definitely a roughie. It loves these distances, so watch out for our Ivanhoe. But like I said, form hasn't been too great coming into this race for our Ivanhoe. Number 3 we have Exotheric, a Freedman trained horse, and will be ridden by Damien Oliver in the Caulfield Cup. Has come in the top 3 in 3 of its last 5 races. Doesn't look in bad form. Has the journey under its belt, a win range of just over 2,000 metres to just over 2,400 metres. So it's coming to Victoria in some good form. Should be close up. The distance will suit, as I mentioned, and if it does well in this race, the Melbourne Cup I think is the next race on the agenda for this horse. Number 4 we have Scottish, who has won 3 of its last 5 races, placed in the other 2. Looks in ripping form, I must say, coming into the Caulfield Cup, but hasn't won over the 2,000 metre journey. So coming to the 2,400 metres, I'm not sure whether it will suit, considering it's an international horse, and I don't know too much about this horse. I can only go from what I read on paper as opposed to seeing this horse, but it looks in ripping form, and from what I've heard, the distance should suit. So it's definitely up there, probably in the top 5 or 6 coming into this race. Number 5 we have Sir Isaac Newton, another international horse in the Caulfield Cup. Probably the best out of all of them in my opinion, because I heard that this horse looked very fresh and ready to go at the stables on Thursday at Werribee. So that's a good sign from an international horse. It's a very good horse as well. It's in some good form. Last start was quite disappointing, but before that it's won 2 of those last 4 races. I tell you what, I have a lot of respect for this horse. I reckon it's a genuine contender. It's backed at some large sort of odds at $12, so it's probably a roughie to look out for, but I genuinely respect this horse. Number 6, we have the Victorian Derby winner of 2015, and that is Tarzino. Its last win was in the Rose Hill Guineas over 2,000 metres. It's trying to find some form. It's fair to say just that. In its last 5 races, it's come 4th, 8th, 10th, 8th, and its most recent was in the Turnbull where it came 6th, which was not a too bad of an effort, but I think it's trying to find some form coming into the Caulfield Cup. But it's definitely one of those horses, though, that can turn things around, but it will be a tough race, but yeah, you never know, you can't rule it out. Number 7, we have a Moon Quiff. Its last win was in the Sandown Cup last year over the same distance as the Melbourne Cup, 3,200 metres. Its last run in the Bart Cummings, it came 8th out of 11 horses over the 2,500 metre distance. It's fair to say that this horse is in poor form, especially ever since its win in the Sandown Cup. I have a lot of doubts. I think this horse is going to find it very, very tricky to be up the front at the end of the race. Number 8, we have Sir John Hawkwood, who won the Metropolitan just a couple of weeks ago in Sydney. It was a great run, actually. Led from the front down the straight the whole way. It was able to pick up the paces going down the straight and just lead the whole way to finish off strongly in the end. This is definitely a much tougher race than the Metropolitan, but that was over 2,400 metres, so I think this horse is a good chance. It's up there in my chances to win the Caulfield Cup. It could at least place. It should be up the front early. It should be in about the top sort of 3 mark, I would say, earlier in the Caulfield Cup. Number 9, we have Articus. In its last 5 races, 2 of them it's won. Another 2 it has at least placed. This horse looks in very good form. Its reports are circling that this horse should handle Caulfield very, very well. The concern for me, though, is that its win range is only up at 2,000 metres. So whether it can go beyond that journey, that extra 400 metres, is unknown to me, considering this is an international horse. But it's up there in the favourites, $9 by the punters. Looks in great form. I'd have to say this is a genuine top 5 contender for me. Looks in great form coming to Caulfield. Number 10 is Tally. Came 3rd in the Turnbull Stakes a couple of weeks ago. It's one of those horses who likes to place a lot, and it's certainly done that in its last 2 starts. I doubt it will challenge for the winning place. I would be very surprised if this horse won the race, but I think it's definitely a genuine chance to place in the race, considering its form over these type of distances. Hasn't won over the 2,400 metres, let's not forget that, so that's why I'm placing it in sort of the placing category. I think it's got the potential to place if it's going to get up the front anywhere. So, yeah, Tally could be a chance to place for me. Number 11, we have the strong favourite in Jamaica, who has been in very consistent form over its last few runs, especially last start in the Turnbull Stakes. It came 2nd to Hartnell, but actually smashed the whole field. Just take Hartnell out of the equation for a minute. It actually smashed the whole field and was way forward of the rest of the field, and was able to smashingly take 2nd in reality. So it's the one to beat, most certainly. It's won over this distance before. It's coming into this race with some good form coming out of the Turnbull, and you can definitely see why it's the favourite, because it is in some very consistent form. The one to beat, in my opinion. Number 12, we have Real Love. I loved this horse's run in the JRA Cup on Moya Stakes night a few weeks ago. It was a very good timed run to actually win the race. It was about midway, halfway through the race, but then was able to timely get into a great position to then smash the rest of the field. This will be a much tougher race, though, than the JRA Cup, but the distance suit, and I reckon it's a great chance to get out the front. Number 13, we have Set Square, 10th out of the 12 horses in the Turnbull Stakes a couple of weeks a go, but it was really trapped wide, so you could probably forgive it for that run. Can really turn it on at her best, in my opinion, but it's going to be a tough race, but you can't rule it out. Number 15, we have Sacred Master, the second of the Chris Waller trained horses in the Caulfield Cup for 2016. Came fourth in the Metropolitan a couple of weeks ago over the 2,400 metre journey. I think this horse is in some okay form going into this race. The question is, though, can it match up with some of the quality in this field for the Caulfield Cup? That's my only question, but I think it's in some good form, and it's definitely a chance. Of course, backed at $26, you could probably consider it a really good roughie if you're looking to place a bet on a roughie this Saturday. Number 17, we have Pemberley, who came third in the Herbert Power last week on Caulfield Guineas Day. It was a good effort by this horse. The concerns for me, though, is that it hasn't won over the 2,400 metre distance, and this will be a much tougher race than the Herbert Power. So I think this horse is in for a bit of a shock when it goes out there on Saturday and races, but it's won 2 of its last 5 races, and one of those was over the 2,000 metres. So it will find it tough in the Caulfield Cup, though. Number 18, we have Go Dreaming, backed by the punters at a whopping $151, coming out of Barrier 1. It's a South Australian stayer who I think will find it tough in the Caulfield Cup. Its last 5 races, 4th, 6th, 8th, 4th and 3rd, with only 2 of them being over the 2,000 metre journey. So I think this will be a very tough race for this horse. And then finally, I have the emergencies. So I'll start with number 19, D Little Engine. Came 7th in the Turnbull, finished off nicely to come 7th in the Turnbull a couple of weeks ago, but I do have my doubts about this horse, although there is some people who are slotting this horse into their top 4, so maybe a chance to be up there in the front in a surprise move. I'm not quite sure, but I do have my doubts. And then number 20, we have Wenger Mask. Yeah, this horse is going to find it tough, I think. Not in the... it came 4th in the Bart Cummings over the 2,500 metres, but again, a lot tougher race in the Caulfield Cup. So that is the field. Let's now get into my tips. Okay, time now to go through my tips for the 2016 BMW Caulfield Cup. There's a lot of contenders in this race, but here are my top 3. I'll start with my first placed horse, and that is number 11, Jamaica. I cannot fault this horse. This is the one to beat, and I think it will win this race. Just to go back to what I said before, the Turnbull Stakes was a very impressive run. It did come 2nd, but it smashed the whole field minus Hartnell. So absolutely stunning, and it's a consistent horse who has been showing some great form coming into the Caulfield Cup, and this will be the main race that its owners and Nicholas Hall want to grab. So Jamaica first for me. Second, I've gone with number 12, Real Love. I mentioned before its strong, timely finish in the JRA Cup at Moonee Valley on Moya Stakes night. It was well timed. It was in a great position in the early stages of the race, and then once it got to the straight, it was able to get in the best position. A well timed race and win from Real Love. I think this will be a much tougher race, the Caulfield Cup, but I think it can handle it. The distance will suit, the racetrack should suit, and I think Real Love will come 2nd, of course, jockeyed by the wonderful Craig Williams. Darren Weir trains this horse too. And then finally 3rd, I have number 8, Sir John Hawkwood, winner of the Metropolitan a couple of weeks ago over the 2,400 metre distance. I thought it was a great run from this horse. It was in the front for most of the race, and then once it got down the straight, it was able to power away. It took the foot off the gas in the later stages down the straight, but it was able to win it in fine fashion. And I think this horse, it should give these 2 horses, Jamaica and Real Love, a run for its money in the early stages, but then I think it will just come 3rd. And there's a couple of other horses who I'd love to slot in there, but I think these are the best 3 who are going to finish in the top 3 of the Caulfield Cup for 2016. And then finally, the roughie of the race, I've given it to number 5, Sir Isaac Newton. I think this horse is the best international horse out of all the international horses in this year's Caulfield Cup. Its last run wasn't pretty. That was over the 2,000 metre mark. But the last 4 races before then have been pretty good. 4th in the King George over 2,400 metres. And then 1st before then in some great races. So I think this horse is one to really watch out for. And I wouldn't be surprised if it goes on and wins this race, because I think its form is quite okay going into this race. It seems to be going well at the Werribee stables as well. Of course, backed by the punters at $12. So if you want a roughie to watch out for, this is the one, I'm confident. And that is it for this episode of the big Group 1 Racing Show. I hope you enjoyed my preview of this year's BMW Caulfield Cup. Of course, don't forget to like, comment and share this video. Subscribe, because I'm back with another episode of the big Group 1 Racing Show next week and the weeks after that as we get into the Melbourne Cup Carnival. But next week I'm going to be previewing 2 races, and that is the Manikato Stakes, which is ran on a Friday night before the Cox Plate, and then the Cox Plate will be the other race I preview. 2 massive Group 1s that are real highlights of the Spring Racing Carnival. Now, of course, don't forget to follow me on Twitter for all my other tips from the other races at Caulfield this week. I'll be giving tips on every single race at Caulfield this Saturday on my Twitter. So go follow me on Twitter at Bevob5. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy Caulfield Cup Day. I hope you back a winner. Until next week, I'm Jacob. Happy punting. Bye for now.